Shalom everyone, this is Kazakh Eliyahu Yasharal and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be looking at the question, what if I cannot flee out of the midst of Babylon? Coming right up. So for the past couple of weeks, I think we have been teaching about fleeing from the midst of Babylon. And the question has come up, what if I cannot flee? What if I cannot flee out of the midst of Babylon? That is the question I'm going to look at today. And we begin looking at it by asking the question, who told us to flee? That is the very question we begin with. Who told us to flee? Is it the creator of the heaven and the earth? The one who said, let there be, and there was? The one through whom all things are possible? The one who is the giver of life? The one who is the Almighty Father, all-powerful, all-great, Yahuwah Sabaoth? Is it the great Almighty One, the great Achaya? Well, if it is, and we say we cannot flee, then it means that we are calling him a liar. Because let us go to the book of Jeremiah 51 and see what he said to us there. Jeremiah 51:1, thus saith Yahuwah, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind. So first he begins with a warning us of what is coming upon Babylon, and will send upon Babylon fanners that shall fan her, and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men. Now let's go with Jeremiah 51:3. Against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifted himself up in his brigandine, and spare ye not her young men, destroy ye utterly all her host. Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. So first he warned us as to what is happening. After warning us what is happening, then he gave us the assurance as Israelites. He said in verse 5, for Israel, Yasharal, hath not been forsaken, nor Yahudah or Judah of his allure, of Yahuwah Sabaoth, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Yasharal, against Kadosh Yasharal. So what is he saying here? He's saying that though our land was filled with sin against him, he is not going to forsake us if we flee from the midst of Babylon, if we obey him. Then verse 6 says, flee out of the midst of Babylon. Now, the question, who is telling us to flee? It is the Most High. He started by telling us what is coming upon Babylon. Then he told us, you know what? I haven't forsaken you. So you know what? Verse 6, flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahuwah's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. That is his advice. And we know that the cue to flee from the midst of Babylon is the abomination of desolation. You may want to check out our video, what is the abomination of desolation? That is the cue to know when we must flee out of the midst of Babylon. So he tells us to flee, and we're saying, well, we cannot flee. We are making him a liar. He says flee. We say, you know what? No, I cannot flee. We make him a liar. And the truth is not in us. Because the reason he wants us to flee from out of the midst of Babylon, this is an understanding that we must get. The reason he wants us to flee out of the midst of Babylon is that he wants to lead us in the wilderness. It is in the wilderness where he perfects us and where we get to know him. Deuteronomy 32:10. He found him in a desert land, and in the waste, howling wilderness. He led him about, he instructed him, he kept him as the apple of his eyes. He wants to bring us back into the wilderness. Just as it was when we came out of Egypt. In the book of Ezekiel chapter 20, he tells you that once again he's going to bring us into the wilderness, as he did when he took us out of Egypt. This is what he wants to do. He found him. So that's when we will find him, because he has us in captivity and we really, truly do not know him. As an eagle stirreth up her nest, fluttereth over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, beareth them on her wings. So Yahuwah alone did lead him, and there was no strange God with him. So he wants to isolate us so that he can lead us. Him alone can lead us, and we depend on him through emunah, which they call faith. So us saying that I cannot flee, it's actually lack of emunah, lack of faith. And we're going to see what that means to him. So he separates us to lead us alone. Okay? But the next question we ask is, what are we going to eat? I don't have any food. I don't have any money. How can I live when I don't have anything? Let's see what the Most High says about that. In the book of Yeshayahu, chapter 48, verse 20 to 21. Go ye forth of Babylon, flee ye from the Chaldeans, with a voice of singing, declare ye. Tell this, utter it even to the end of the earth, say ye, Yahuwah hath redeemed his servant Jacob. This is what it's all about. It is the redemption. It is the end time gathering. It is the redemption of his people from Babylon and from the wicked. That is why we are told to flee. And what did he say in the next verse? And they thirsted not when he led them through the deserts. He caused the waters to flow out of the rock for them. He clave the rock also, and the waters gushed out. That's what he's telling you. When you flee, he will make a way in the wilderness. Yes? That's what he's saying. When you flee, he will provide for you. He will make a way. You don't have to worry. Just trust in him. So he instructed us to flee. He would be letting down his name if he did not provide for us. So we flee, and we are there starving to death. And we are there not being provided for. Oh, that wouldn't be emunah. So, what if we live without emunah? What if we live without what they call faith? How does the Most High respond to that? How does he respond to that? In the book of Abraham, Hebrews 11, verse 6. But without emunah, it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to Allure must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. So in diligently seeking him, by following his commands, by being willing to give up on everything in this wicked Babylonian world, in the world of the wicked, being willing to give up everything, we will diligently seek him. He says he's a rewarder. But without this emunah, by saying, oh, we cannot flee, it is impossible to please him. And verse 36 tells us about the life that some of the true believers actually lived. And others had trial of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover of bonds and imprisonment. These are what our people went through. These are Israelites. They were stoned, they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented. They did what? They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins. I'm very sure that none of our people are down to this level. Being destitute, afflicted, tormented, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts. And in mountains, flee to the mountains, and in dens and caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through emunah, received not the promise. So for all that they did not receive the promise. But guess what? The promise is right before our eyes. We are at the end of the age, when the Messiah will return. So the promise is right before our very eyes, in our very generation, in our very time. But these men did all of this and they did not receive the promise. all that they went through, they did not receive the promise. And the promise is right before our very eyes. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? That is the question. So these are examples that we should live by. All right? So the main problem is why we will say we cannot leave, is that we were spoiled by Babylon. We believe that this is the life. This is the only life we can live. All right? And not only spoiled by Babylon, we have not denied ourselves. And the Messiah said in Matthew 16:24, if any man come after me, let him deny himself and pick up his stake and follow me. So if we have not denied ourselves, we cannot follow him. And that is the major problem. We are in religion. And if we have not denied ourselves to the point that we are willing to give up everything to obey the command, then it actually means that we are in religion and we are not converted. We are not transformed. And that means that we are really none of his. Because as the word says, if any man hath not the Ruach Mashiach, if any man hath not the spirit of the Messiah, then he is none of his. And we're going to see the Ruach that the Messiah had, that we must have in order to be able to obey his command, to flee into the mountains. So we have been spoiled. We don't want to live our comfortable surroundings, our comfortable homes, nice beds and nice neighborhood. We have invested in homes and we don't want to leave our nice home that we invested in and we've been living in for some time, or we just acquired, and that car and those digital devices and the lifestyle and the job. We don't want to leave that. So we say, oh, we don't want to leave Babylon. Or we might be at the bottom. We might be struggling to make ends meet in Babylon. And we believe that if we just let go, then we are doomed. And we are afraid to let go and to move and to strive to find somewhere else to go. To find somewhere else away from the cities, somewhere in a remote area, in the mountains, in the hills, in the fields, somewhere else where we can make an abode. We are afraid to do that. So we say we cannot move. But we are called to be like Hamashiach. That is our call. It says we must have the faith of Yahusha. We're going to look in 1 John 2, verse 6. What does it say? He that saith he abideth in him ought himself also so to walk, even as he walked. This is the bottom line. As he walked, we must also walk. If you go back to the life of the Mashiach, you will see that he did not live the life that we lived. He did not live this comfortable life that we lived. Let's go there. Let's see the life that Hamashiach actually lived, the life that we should model ourselves off. Okay? Because Revelation 14:12, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yahuwah and the emunah of Yahusha, or the faith of Yahusha. So the true set apart saints keep the commandments of the Most High and have the faith of Hamashiach. And what was his faith? Matityahu 8, verse 20. What was his emunah? And Yahusha said unto him, the foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man hath not where to lay his head. You see that? The Son of Man had nowhere to lay his head. Yet we in Babylon have somewhere to lay our head, and we are unwilling to move away from where we are. Even though most of us, if we move, the Most High will provide the resources. That's another thing we have to come to. Will provide the resources for us to have somewhere to lay our heads, but we're still afraid to move. As I say this, let me go into this. Who told us to move? The Most High. Who promised that he has not forsaken Yasharal? The Most High. Who promised to give us water in the wilderness and water out of the rock? The Most High. If we decide that we are willing and ready to move, trust me, the Most High will provide for us. All we need is the emunah. What did the Mashiach say? Faith, emunah, of mustard seed, you can move mountains. And this has been my experience and the experience I've heard from others. Just put your foot forward. with the whole heart that you are deciding that you're going to do this, the Most High is just going to start opening doors. You're going to be so surprised. We have so many testimony of our experience. They're too much of the Most High opening doors. And we're like, wow, that's all you need is emunah, just the faith. And he will do it. Anyway, let's continue. Yeah, that's it. So, let us see. Mashiach had nowhere to lay his head. And let's see where he laid his head at times. Where did he lay his head? Let's go to Lucas 21:37. Luke 21:37. And in the daytime he was teaching in the temple, and at night he went out and abode in the mount that is called the Mount of Olives. He did what? He abode. What does that abode there actually mean? Abode comes from the Greek. Let me put it that you can see it, because it is very important that we see. Where is it? The meaning of abode. G835. It is the Greek lidzomai, middle voice from G833, to pass the night properly in the open air. But listen to this. Hold up. Taught in the temple in the day, and at night he passed the night in the open air in the mount that is called the Mount of Olives. Really now? And what are we saying? We are saying we cannot flee to the mountains. Do we realize what we are saying? We are actually giving up our salvation if we refuse to flee. Let me say it again. We are actually giving up our salvation if we refuse to flee. Because, let me go to the next verse. Let me go to the next verse and you'll see the because. Because. Yeshayahu 13 verse 18. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. This is what's going to happen in Babylon. I won't even go to the destruction. We have to go to Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, and this Isaiah 13, and Revelation 18 to see the destruction that is coming. And what kind of destruction is coming? Verse 19, and Babylon, the splendor of kingdoms, the beauty of the Chaldeans' excellency, shall be as when Alua overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. And we know Sodom and Gomorrah, sulfur, pillar of salt, nothing lived. And up to this day, nothing lived. No life up to this day. And you only need to go to Habereshit, and we won't go there because it's too long. You only need to go to Habereshit, Genesis 19, the account of Lot, to see what is going to come to. Lot was in there and tarrying, and the angel told him that if he does not come out, he's going to perish with the rest of them. And the Most High tells us in telling us about fleeing from the midst of Babylon, he keeps telling us that if we don't come out, we are going to be partakers of our sins and we're going to receive our plagues. We are going to receive the same thing. So those who refuse to come out are those who are accepting that they're going to partake of the destruction. Don't think the Most High is going to come and save you out of Babylon. No, he told you to flee. So many times he told you to flee. Yes? And you refuse through emunah, because our walk is a walk of emunah. It is a walk of faith. So if we don't show the faith, the Most High does not respond, because what it says in Hebrews 11:6, without emunah, or faith, it is impossible to please him. And if it is impossible to please him, he is not gonna even consider us. Yes? Psalm 78:19. Let's go there. So, Babylon is gonna be as when the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. Serious business. Psalm 78. This is speaking about the children of Israel when they were in the wilderness and they rebelled against the Most High. Yea, they spake against Alua. They said, can Alua furnish a table in the wilderness? It's the same thing. When we're saying, oh, we cannot leave, we are saying, can Allah take care of me in the wilderness? I know I can take care of myself right where I am because I have my job, I have my income, I have this, I have that. But if I leave it, flee to the mountains, how can I do that? How can I just give up everything and leave? Just like that. Can Allah take care of me? That's what you're saying. Behold, he smote the rock that the waters gushed out, and the streams overflowed. Can he give bread also? Can he provide flesh for his people? Now, most of us in this walk, we have experience with the Most High. We have testimonies of what the Most High has done to us and done for us. But we are saying, oh, he sustained me here in Babylon, but can he do it in the wilderness? That's what it's the same thing, people, nothing different. Therefore, Yahuwah heard this and was wroth. He was angered. So a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came up against Yasharal. So when we say we cannot do this and we cannot do that, the Most High's anger is going to be kindled against us. Verse 22 says, because they believed not in Allah and trusted not in his salvation. This is his salvation, people. He's saying, flee from the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahuwah's vengeance. His vengeance, just like at Sodom and Gomorrah, is going to be on Babylon. So if you don't come out of Babylon, that's why it says in Revelation 18:4, come out of her, my people. He reminded us in the New Testament that this is not just an Old Testament thing. Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and you receive not of her plagues. So that is his salvation. But it says, because they believed not in Allah and trusted not in his salvation. He was angry. He was wroth. Yes? Wow. This is getting very serious. And it gets more serious now. Let's go to the book of Yasha. The book of Jasher. Chapter 80, verse 36 to 40. Verse 36 to 40. This was when the 3 days of darkness happened. And the Bible does not record it, but the book of Jasher records that the children of Yasharal, some of them were destroyed when the Most High let the 3 days of darkness upon Egypt, Mitzrayim. Joshua 80 verse 36. And Allah sent darkness upon Mitzrayim, that the whole land of Mitzrayim and Patros became dark for 3 days, so that a man could not see his hand when he lifted it to his mouth. At that time died many of the people of Yasharal, who had rebelled against Yahuwah. And we're going to see what it means to rebel against the Most High. Rebelling against the Most High is going against his instructions and going against his servants who is sent with his instructions. Let's see. At that time died many of the people of Yasharal who had rebelled against Yahuwah, and who would not hearken to Moses and Aharon, and believed not in them that Allah had sent them, and who had said, we will not go forth from Egypt, lest we perish with hunger in a desolate wilderness, and who would not hearken to the voice of Moses. Yes, these are the people who said, we cannot flee Babylon. These are the people who say, but we cannot flee Babylon. Where are we going to go? Where are we going? What are we going to eat? We don't have any. And who had said, we will not go forth from Egypt, lest we perish with hunger in a desolate wilderness, and who would not hearken to the voice of Moses. And Yahuwah plagued them in the 3 days of darkness, and the Israelites buried them in those days without the Egyptians knowing of them or rejoicing over them. Yes, they were plagued because they did not believe in the Most High. They did not believe when he said they were to move. Said they were comfortable in Mitzrayim. They were destroyed, people. Very, very serious. So, those who will overcome have to have a certain, there are certain people who will overcome, and there are certain prerequisites for us to overcome. Luke 14:26, if any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. So if we are not willing to tear away from our family who do not want to come, who do not see this vision that we are seeing, who do not understand what we understand, then you cannot be his disciple. Because, remember, and we did it in our teaching on Shabbat, it is a remnant that will be saved. Though the number of the children of Yasharel be as the sand of the sea, a remnant shall return. It is a remnant. It's one from a family or two from a family, and that's how he is going to pick out people. So those who have heard the call and understood the call, these are they who are chosen, who are picked out to be the remnant of Yasharal. Verse 27, and whosoever doth not bear his stake and come after me cannot be my disciple. If you are not willing to bear the problems, the yoke, the struggle, not knowing what is going to happen to you, not knowing how things are going to work out, if you are not willing to make the move through emunah, willing to bear what comes with it, you cannot be his disciple. And it doesn't end there. Hear this. And this has all to do with what we are saying. Okay? Verse 33. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. If you are not willing to give up on everything you have, if you are not willing to give up on everything you own, your job, everything, you cannot be his disciple. This walk, people, is not a simple walk. Christianity, etc., and Babylon has made us feel that this walk is a walk where you can walk it in Babylon. You cannot walk it in Babylon. Impossible. It is a giving up of everything. That's why it said, love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. It is a walk of hating this world so much you're willing to give up everything that is in this world to follow him. It is a giving up of the life for the Most High. It's not preserving your life in this world and holding on to the Most High. It is not a double-minded life. It is a mind of singleness. A single-minded life dedicated to the Most High, giving up everything to follow him. All right? That is the person who will overcome. That is the person that will not say, I can't flee Babylon. I can't flee the city. I have nowhere to go. That is the person who will not say these negative things. The person who has denied himself, willing to give up everything, will say, whatever Yahuwah say we will do, we will do. And we'll push out through emunah, not knowing what is ahead. Just as Abraham, when Abraham was told to leave the Ur of the Chaldeans, he had no idea what was ahead, where he was going or anything. He just obeyed. And what did the Most High do? Abraham was made into a very rich man just for heeding to the commands of the Most High. Come on, people. What book are we reading? And so, those who overcome in the end, we're touching down now. Those who overcome in the end, Revelation 12:11. Who are they who will overcome in the end? And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. This is what we want. They loved not their lives unto the death. They were willing to give up their lives. They were willing to die for righteousness' sake. These are those who overcome. All right? So that's just the little part of it. There's not so much of it, but never want it to be so long. So we're just kind of putting everything. So who told us to flee? The Most High told us to flee. He reassured us that he has not forsaken us, the children of Yasharal. The Gentiles who join themselves to us will also flee with us. The Gentiles will also get the reassurance and the provision, just like us, from the Most High. Yes? So we flee from the midst of Babylon because he has not forsaken us. Okay? The Mashiach slept in the Mount of Olives in the nights. Why can't we do the same? We know we can buy tents, etc., and sleep in. The Messiah slept in the open air. Come on, people. What's more, the promise for Babylon is that it is going to be destroyed as Sodom and Gomorrah. So we really don't have a choice, really. Because if it is as Sodom and Gomorrah, it's going to be totally, utterly destroyed. And Jeremiah 50 and 51, Isaiah 13, I think, and Revelation 18:4 tells you the destruction that's going to be coming upon Babylon. Okay? And the instructions are all there for us to flee. Flee, flee, flee. So if it is going to be destroyed like Sodom and Gomorrah, and we are going to be there, oh, he will take care of me. He will protect me. No. He told you, flee. If you do not obey to him, it is rebellion. And he's going to be wroth against you. Look at his servant Moses. He boasted about Moses. That when he gives dreams and visions to other prophets, he spoke to Moses face to face. And Moses was told to strike the rock. He struck the rock. Another time was told to speak to the rock, and he struck the rock again. And what did the Most High do? He was wroth with Moses and said, you're not entering into the promised land. So don't think this great relationship that you have with the Most High, that is going to override his commands. This is a command. And he responds to everyone who heeds his commandments, not those who disobey him. He looks at it as rebellion, people. Let us not rebel against the Most High. So those who are saying they cannot flee, hey, please share this video. Like if you like. Comments are welcome. Share. We love the shares because it makes the world go around. All right? And please subscribe if you have not. This is Chazak Eliyahu Yasharal. Please take this video seriously. All right? And please share it. Okay? Until next time. Shalom.